Well, I decided to do something a little different regarding the drawing video this time. It's a drawing inspired by Nadia T's. She's done a couple of teasing videos, and so part of that inspired this drawing. It wasn't taken from any exact still, but it's part of a couple of her videos, just the mood. That was the intention anyway. That's how it started off. What it ended up like is, that's just the way it went. So anyway, Nadia is currently doing a contest for videos arguing creationism, creation science, whatever you want to call it, creation bullshit. I don't, it's kind of a weird subject because I don't think there really is an argument. I mean, to me, it's just so. It's the very idea of rejecting religion, the standard bullshit stories that. So apparently, there's this group of people out there that actually concede that the Adam and Eve shit is just that shit, but they still want an excuse to invent a God, and it's the whole idea. And when you look at life and the way it works, of finding intelligence in the design, it's just so stupid. I mean, we can't miss what we all are. We're feeding machines. I mean, that's what a living organism does. It consumes for the purpose of reproduction, and we're just another example of it. And we happen to have more intelligence than your average maggot, but our purpose isn't any more sophisticated, generally speaking. We're using our intelligence as a tool to put more shit in the mouth and make more babies and the rest of it, but we're not using it as we're not using it to define goals or to establish ourselves as some kind of higher form of life. So anyway, it just seems like a desperate effort. It's people apparently need to contrive a purpose or some kind of intention, because it's quite obvious if you do look at the design itself that it's shit. Okay, nature is shit, and it only has any kind of elegance or beauty because of our own prejudice, our own familiarity with it. It's all a subjective perception. It's completely based on conditioning and bullshit, and there's no reason why that definition of beauty couldn't go in any direction. There could be a form of life that's just a blob, and they could say, well, the other blobs are beautiful, and they could see beauty in a completely different kind of symmetry. So anyway, so that's her subject right now. And she's also talked a little bit on anarchy, so I figure I'll spend the rest of the time talking anarchy. Luke did a couple more videos. One of them's on morality, but it's still the anarchy crap he threw in there. So just disguised it a little. And then he's done another video, and then Dill did Dill is getting dumber. Has anybody noticed that? I mean, so like she took some retardation pills, because lately, and she's just so inarticulate. It's stunning. So I mean, she made a really stupid video, suggesting, oh, there's some private roads in Australia. Well, big deal. There's private bridges in in Canada, so she should know about those. There's lots of arrangements that work in terms of you can privatize something and do it cheaper because they can hire cheaper labor, and the rest of it you don't have the same kind of restrictions, and they can finance things where the government doesn't want to raise the funds, but in the long term it's still going to cost the people more money, so it's short-sighted again. Compromise the future to get something in the present, and that's part of what anarchy would breed, is that there'd be no far-sightedness, no investment in the future. It would always have to have, the return would always have to be immediate. And then she suggested that, you abolish Social Security and people could just buy insurance, old age insurance. Newsflash, this is what Social Security is. And the whole idea of insurance is one of those, it's really disgusting that the government isn't in the insurance business, because insurance is, it's an idiot business. There's nothing to insurance. You have some actuarial tables that tell you what the likelihoods and probabilities are, so you know what your risk is, and you should just apply, the premium should be applied to cover that risk. It's not brain surgery. And the only time it gets complicated is in deciding whether somebody has a legitimate claim or not. And if you privatize it, well, then you're going to have to privatize the court system too, because then they end up, the public would end up paying for this damn insurance company anyway, because we're the ones that have to finance the court system. And if all these damn cases end up in court, I mean, as it is now, the Social Security system, you're automatically denied a disability claim the first time. So the first year, it's an automatic denial, and then you have to appeal. And so you have to go through this whole system because they found they can save money. The longer they delay you getting your disability, the more likely it is you'll drop dead or give up. And so they save money. And that's the same thing insurance companies would do. And there's no reason, there's not a huge waste in the Social Security bureaucracy. There's waste in the fact that they write convoluted law, and that bureaucracy has to interpret and impose that convoluted law. But that's the only waste in the system per se. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of bureaucrats, doing their bureaucratic duty. And it'd be no different if you give it to private enterprise. They would cut as many corners as possible, and we've seen how they deal with health care. People die because they will do whatever they can to avoid paying off, giving people what they did, what they thought they paid for. So anyway, back to the overall anarchy argument. There's been a few things that have just been completely avoided. I mean, Dill avoided it also. What do you do? This is the new tax. She says they're not against some government, and well, Steph Bott would find that, I mean, he'd throw up if you said that to him. Okay, so the fearless leader of the anarchy movement on YouTube, anyway. Yeah, he doesn't know. He knows that you can't let the dog in the door. Even the nose of the dog. A little bit of government would just become a lot of government really fast, and it's just logical. There's no way that it wouldn't happen, because people are going to there's going to be crap that's going to happen, and people are going to say, fix it. Somebody's going to leave a bunch of toxic waste somewhere, and everybody's going to point to it and say, somebody clean that up, because I certainly can't afford to clean it up. And so they're going to demand that government act. And so once you open that door, you're going to have government. There's just no way around it. You can't have just a little bit of government. And so if you don't have this government, well, anyway, if you have this anarchy system, what do you do about catching criminals? What if I just pollute the hell out of my property, digging gold out of the ground, let's say, and I take all the gold with me and just pack up one day and leave, and I leave 500 tons of toxic elements on the surface of the earth that will leach into everybody's groundwater, and I'm gone. I've left town. Well, how are you going to catch me? You're not going to know whether I'm 5 miles away or 500 miles away, because nobody has an identity, no one has anything. So you have no way of catching a criminal, no way to catch anybody who violates somebody else's rights, and no way to even define it anyway, because you won't even make anything a law. You won't have an enforceable law. As far as I can tell, because that would be an initiation of violence, correct? How much time? Yeah, I'm running out of time. All right, and the big one you still haven't dealt with is how you would avoid the obvious problem of the consolidation of wealth, or the consolidation of ownership in a very few hands. What would stop it from becoming the monarchy that everything became when we had market anarchy? We really did have it, and what it turns into is Rome. That's what it turns into, and it's just how do you explain how that doesn't happen? You don't put any restrictions on the creation of wealth, the consolidation of wealth, and the passing on of wealth. And so there's no reason to believe that in a few hundred years you wouldn't have a monarch. It's just bullshit. And that most of the people would be peasants, slaves to that monarch. And there's this whole this whole thing of dangerous technology. Who's going to regulate who has nuclear technology? Who's going to regulate that? I mean, can everybody just build a nuclear power plant in their backyard and follow whatever safety guidelines they choose? Can anybody put up any old kind of chemical plant? We're drawing abstract this time, not the usual.